Today, right at 5 p.m. Eastern time, Robert Mueller delivered his finished report and proved conclusively that, I don't know, we don't really know anything that's in it yet, honestly. So it came out like an hour and 20 minutes ago or so that the report's gonna be released. It's gonna be handed over to William Barr. Okay, that's great. I mean, we're gonna report on it or whatever, but we won't know anytime soon what's actually in it. Now, I will reveal to you all that we do know, which I mostly just did. But William Barr also had a letter revealing how this thing is going to play out in the future. So we have a section of it, read it if you can. In part, it says in the middle, I am reviewing the report and anticipate that I may be in a position to advise you on the special counsel's principal conclusions as soon as this weekend. Separately, I intend to consult with Deputy Attorney General Rosenstein and Special Counsel Mueller to determine what other information from the report can be released to Congress and the public consistent with the law, including special counsel regulations and the department's longstanding practices and policies, which will be interpreted however they want. I remain committed to as much transparency as possible, and I will keep you informed to the status of my review. So he is saying that we might get the thesis statement this weekend, and then we'll see about the rest of it.
I mean, the nut graph.
Exactly.
It's always the best part.
Yeah, so the House voted unanimously that it should be released, obviously. The vast majority of the population thinks, of course we should know what they found in this investigation. Only Trump's most ardent defenders and base don't want it to come out. And so we might get those details, but we might not, because William Barr, there's every reason to believe he was put there because he is willing to block the full release of the report.
Right. So we don't know, of course, what the report says, and I hate these nonstop, lengthy conversations that you see in cable news where there's nothing more than speculation about what the report says. So I don't want to fall into that trap, and I don't even think that conversation is interesting.
Well, I do want to do a top 10 list of things that might be in it. I'm kidding, I don't.
But I will say, something happened yesterday that I found hilarious, and I just wanted to make sure that it's on everyone else's radar. So I get home from work, I'm ready to relax. The last thing I want to do is think about news or Trump or anything like that. But I get notifications from some people on Twitter, including Cenk. And Cenk had tweeted a story about how Trump, instead of saying hi to reporters, just greeted them with no collusion, and walked away. And I just thought that was so funny, because it's like someone walking into a room and saying, I didn't steal the $100. I was not the person who stole the $100, right? You automatically assume that's the person who stole the $100. Like, he self-incriminates. It's amazing.
Yeah, I was saying that it's like your partner walking into the bedroom and going, no adultery, no adultery. You're like, it's great, babe. Anyway,
a pilot gets on the plane, no whiskey, no whiskey. It's like, that's great. Maybe too soon.
We're gonna get Broadstrokes, and then this weekend it seems.
At best, Broadstrokes.
And then we'll sort of know what else is in it. I mean, I think that no matter where you stand on all this, I mean, we have to know, right, what it contains. I'm worried that it will be inconclusive. I think that's my biggest worry. My biggest fear is that it'll be. I don't know if there'll be recommendations that I think might be an overstep of what I guess the special prosecutor is supposed to do.
Yeah, I don't know that there would be.
But I'm afraid that it'll be like, and and what else, it seems like everything's been circling, and we sort of know like all the many threads of investigation. So I'm wondering how either if it all gets braided together or if it just kind of poof, is.
Yeah, well, my fear is that this is an investigation that was limited in scope. It focused primarily on the Russia question, whether there was collusion between Russia and the campaign. And so Trump is facing investigations for a wide variety of issues that I would argue are way more problematic, right? So possible money laundering, some of his tax scams that took place, the fact that he allegedly used his own charitable foundation to enrich himself, the fact that he might have committed fraud when it came to obtaining loans from Deutsche Bank by inflating what his assets were worth, and then he would deflate his assets for tax purposes. So all of these things I think are far more interesting. His conflicts of interest, whether or not he's using the office of the presidency for his own financial benefits as opposed to representing the best interests of the American people. Like all of those things he's being looked into for, but everyone likes to conflate all of the investigations as if it's one thing. It's just the collusion thing. No, it's not just collusion. And I'm afraid that if Robert Mueller's report comes out and it's just inconclusive or it's weak sauce, as I've said earlier this week, then everyone is just gonna dismiss every other thing that he's being investigated for. And that's what worries me.
Well, look, I think a significant portion of the country, for various different reasons, doesn't care what's actually in it. They've already made up their mind possibly a year and a half ago. I am a progressive, and because of that, I believe in holding the wealthy and powerful accountable if they've committed crimes. And so whether it's in Robert Mueller's investigation or other investigations being conducted by the Southern District of New York or whatever, I want to know the truth of what's actually happening, and we've been very consistent on that. But what's interesting about this is that he was appointed to the position, Robert Mueller, like 677 days ago. It's been forever.
And you've been counting.
And they have, yeah, exactly. No, I just saw it on Twitter. Anyway, and he hasn't really leaked much, and yet we have found out a lot, not through his office, but through others. And what's so interesting is, if he had been appointed and we had learned nothing, we just had the information we had on Election Day 2016, 6 months goes by, and then he comes out with a few of the little things that we've learned since then, it would have been big. Like if we'd found out, we never would have imagined that Don Jr. would be told that the Russian government wants to get his father elected, and so they're gonna meet up to give him dirt, and he'd say, I love it. That would have been amazing, but we learned about that like a year ago, so everybody's just like, oh, that's old stuff, who cares anymore?
Right.
And so there's a lot of examples like that, where so much stuff has been sort of dribbled out, everything gets normalized, and we don't care anymore about what's really going on.
I mean, I think, okay, here's why I think it matters. I mean, Anna, you're totally right. It's all these other instances of illegality that have been proven throughout, all the many interviews and the people who've pled guilty, et cetera, that have nothing to do with the Russia collusion. The thing that fascinates me, though, is that the Russia story is a perfect distillation of all of the ways that he's been scamming people financially, politically, for decades. And it's like, it all comes to this like, oh, you continued to build a tower, wanting to plans to build the Trump Tower in Moscow right after you started your campaign, right after. So it was a deliberate conflating of like a conflict of interest. It's like, no, you walked into that conflict of interest because, as Michael Cohen said, like you didn't think you'd be elected. And I think the ways that this all is like the cornucopia of corruption, I find really amazing because trying to hold the powerful and rich accountable and these goons accountable, it's like, yeah, you thought you could get away with sort of the biggest scandal of them all, and we'll see if you do.
Yeah. Anyway, beyond that, we have no idea what's in it. It's possible we'll find out, we'll wake up tomorrow morning, to a notification, or maybe it's breaking right now. I'm not literally on my phone, I'm glancing at it, but maybe it's coming out right now. Anyway, we don't know, so there's no reason to go on for a long time. We are gonna wait and find out what happens and then evaluate based on that. I wish that was a more popular position that people were gonna take for this.
I'm pretty sure our audience finds that to be a popular position.
Oh, definitely, I think that's why they watch the show.
Yeah.
I think.
The TYT Plus app is now available on iOS and Android. Download to get more TYT content at tyt.com/app.